Welcome. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the place where you are working so hard, churning so intently that you don't take time for fun. You feel so stressed about what you're trying to do that taking a break, having fun seems like a luxury that you can't afford. I'm Missy Hughes. I'm a productivity coach. I help you focus on what's meaningful to you so that you can look back on your life and really appreciate the way you lived it. So, subscribe to this channel now and go to the link in the comments and sign up for my weekly tips on how to get things done. So you're in that space where anxiety, overwhelm, and just churning. You feel like you're on a hamster wheel of work. And it doesn't matter whether it's like a to-do list for things you need to do in your personal life or whether you've got like a task list at work that you're burning through and it's like Groundhog Day, you're doing these things over and over. But the big thing is you feel like there's so much to do that you can't possibly have fun. You can't possibly take a break. Or even if you do say, oh, I need to have some fun, maybe I'll go out with some friends. Maybe I'll go on a date. Maybe I'll go see a show. Maybe I'll go see a movie. Maybe I'll go on a hike. It's like you get lost in this battle of like, I don't even know what to do because I don't feel like I've gotten enough done, then I can actually take that time aside to go do it. So but you also realize I'm beat. I'm wiped. I'm working so hard and I need a break. So what you do is you do kind of like a quick break, a little quickie. Like just gonna relax for a minute. So maybe I'll watch a show. Maybe I'll scroll through some social media. Maybe I'll have a glass of wine. Maybe I'll watch some funny reels. That's my one of my favorites to do with my son. And you find yourself kind of at the end of that, you're zoned out. So you don't really feel like you aren't re-energized. You're sort of numb to the whole thing. You weren't really there. You find yourself in your place where you're like stone-faced and you're like, that was funny, but you never even cracked a smile. You're not actually laughing. You're not actually getting that release. You're not building any endorphins. You're just not working for a second, which feels like a relief on one hand, but it's not really the recharge that you need on the other hand. So let's talk about recharge for a second. The easiest example of recharge is sleep, right? So you think that you're doing nothing in your mind, but your body is in there working away, right? You're lying there still for hopefully 8-ish hours. But what your body is doing is it's in there repairing all the injuries. It's like resetting all your systems. It's in there filing all the events for, how to handle them and how to think about them. So your body is like it's maintenance time. It is in there cleaning house. So while sleep seems like you're doing nothing, a lot's actually happening for you. That's why sleep's so important. It actually isn't a luxury. It's not like in college, they used to say, sleep when you're dead. Let's go have some fun. And, that seemed great when I was in my 20s, but it's not necessarily realistic when I'm trying to create this balanced life, right? So, um, when you think about recharging in from your work, it's important to know that it's important that recharge is a part of being able to successfully work. If we don't sleep, our bodies don't function. So then we can't do any of the things we want to do or the things that we need to do, right? But fun is actually a part of that too. So when you are taking time away from your work, when you're like, here's work over here, I'm going to do something totally different that I enjoy, then you are allowing that to shut down, do some maintenance, clean some house while you're over here having a whole new experience. So if you're seeing a show, for instance, you're actively participating in what you're taking in You're forming thoughts about it. You're having opinions. Maybe you're laughing, but when you're engaged, you're experiencing it and your brain is engaged in something else. It's having a new experience. It's greasing the wheels of a different part of your brain. So that's important because it allows that clean house over here on this task list, on the work side of things. You need that sort of shake up to be able to function well in your work. You need to give your brain some space to be a little bit more free, right? So but when you're distracted, when you're doing things that numb you out, when you need just like a quick break, the reason that doesn't work, the reason it is maybe it's a little relaxing, but it's definitely not recharging is because your systems are still working. When you're numbed out, you're still kind of like over here in your work stuff. You haven't shut that down. You haven't closed the door, right? It's all your files are still open, your battery is still being drained. And so it's important when you're numbing out, it's not giving you energy. It's still taking energy from you. That to me is mind-blowing. It's been a big part of a change in my life because I always felt like I there's more to do. Like the to-do list never literally never ends, and that's true. Which brings up another part of this. So, on one hand, you've got, okay, I never plan fun because I'm so anxious about work. We look at the part of it where you fun is important because it recharges. But then there's a second part, which is I've got to earn my fun. There's a part of us deep down that's like, oh, I've got to do these tasks to be acceptable, to be accepted. I've got to earn my way into worthiness. If I do enough things, then it'll be okay. If I produce enough results, then I'll be acceptable. If I do more and more and more, but the problem with that is if you put your happiness in that bank of if I do these actions, then I earn my happiness, I earn my acceptability, I earn my worthiness, it will never work because it's never enough, because it's never done. When you look at a project and you're like, oh, I'm sure you're celebrating because you finished it, right? And if you're like me in this scenario, you're like, oh, I could have done it better. I could have done it faster. I could have gotten more efficient as I was doing it. I could have had better results, right? There's always something that could have been more. And so again, you're still not earning that satisfaction. You're not earning that worthiness. You're not earning that acceptability because actually it's not part of the task. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to give you an example of something I call setting the stage that shows you how to sort of set your boundaries. So when you think about boundaries of your success, whether you're acceptable or not, there's this idea of success and failure as this all or nothing scenario. So success is defined as all of the things are done 100%. 100% of the items are 100% complete. That equals success. And failure is anything less than that. Failure is 0% to 90.99999% done. All of that is not meeting the goal. Meeting the goal is only 100% done 100% of the tasks. The problem with that model is it just doesn't mirror real life. What happens in a project that you're actually doing in your life is you do it, you get interrupted, and then you go back and start doing it. It's not that you do it, you get interrupted, and you're like, oh, that's wasted. Let me start back again at square one because nothing matters because I didn't do it 100% of the time, or I didn't finish this project 100% in that first go, right? You don't do that. Every bit of information that every action that you take gives you information. So you're always building on that information, even if your project doesn't go exactly as you want to. You're never starting over at square one. This is why I have such a challenge with things like, um, 100 days of this or 75 hard, for instance. Those are great for building resilience. They're great for like building habits. But the idea that you have to start all over on square one, like not like everything you did before was worthless, that gets challenging, right? That can be very defeating. Now, the point is build the resiliency to not be defeated by that. So there's a whole different part of that where if you dig in deeper, it is pretty amazing because if you're willing to build the resilience of maybe I even had to start over and I'm going to keep going even so, I'm going to finish it even so. But in real life, we don't want to have to think in terms of like quitting or giving up. We want to think in terms of continually building and continually moving and growing and learning and using that to keep going more. Keep building your resilience, not keep building your happiness. So let's go back to that setting the stage. And I want to think I want you to imagine you're putting on a production, right? So the first thing you do is you decide on your stage, right? Where will your performance be? How much literal space do you have for people to do what they're going to do up there? Right? You define your parameters. So in real life, that looks like you define your work. You define your career, you define your tasks, you define your focus. Then you decide, okay, who am I going to have on? You create an act. It can be any, sky's the limit. You could be doing music, you could be doing dance, you could be doing theater, you could be doing any combination of lighting and sounds and props and people, it's animals, who knows what. Sky's the limit, right? You get to decide what you put on your stage. You get to decide your task list. What is it you're making up your life in, right? So then you decide on what you're performing and you start to rehearse. So you start practicing so that you can fine tune. Ooh, I like it better. I want this to be louder. I want this to start over here, right? You get to fine tune the performance. So just like that, you're practicing skills in your life to build. You're practicing to get more efficient, to get a little bit better, to make it a little bit, zhuzh it a little bit better, right? You're constantly fine tuning. So then you go into who's actually on the stage. You get to decide in the same way who is your support, who are your support systems, who are your support people that are going to help you put on your task list, your work, your career, your focus, right? And then you get to decide, am I going to have intermissions in my act? When do I take breaks? You also decide how long your performance is. When does the curtain close? And in the same way, you decide, when do I end the day? When is the work over? When is the project done? When is it enough? You get to decide that. So many times we think we don't have a choice. We think that we can't make these decisions on how much to do, when to do it, how to make it all happen. We think, oh, the work's just there. I got to go do it. But the truth is, we have a choice in the work. We get a choice of how well we do it. We get a choice of how long we do it. There are a lot of choices that we get to decide. So, what I want what I want to make sure that you know is I'm not saying don't work hard, right? What I want you to know is work in a way that you can create your decisions. You can create your focus. You can create your boundaries around. So when we think of success as black and white, then it's never enough. But when we get to define our parameters, then we get to make some decisions. So here's your homework. I want you to, number one, define your baseline of what you need to do in a day to knock some tasks off your list and to not add more. What I mean by that is like, what is your baseline of survival? For instance, if I have a dog, which I do, I have to feed her every day and I have to let her out to go to the bathroom. If I don't let her out, then she's going to go to the bathroom inside. And now I've created more on my to-do list because now I got to clean up her mess and make sure my house doesn't stink. Right. So the baseline is I've got to feed her to keep her alive, give her water, and let her out to not add to my to-do list. Now, I may want to do more. I may want to give her 3 walks a day. I may want to take her to a dog park so she can socialize. I may want to train her in 3 different tricks or spend 15 minutes on some of the things. I can have these things I want to do. Maybe I want to brush her. Maybe I want to rub her ears. Maybe I want to snuggle, right? But the baseline is I got to feed her. I got to take her out. So on my worst day, I got to feed her and I got to take her out. On my best day, I get to do all these things I want to do with her. So create your bottom line, create your baseline of what you have to do in a day. What this does is it defines failure for you. So when you have a clear idea of what failure is, if I below this level, I'm adding to my to-do list instead of taking things away, then you get clear. You don't get to say, okay, everything other than 100% done is failure. You get to say, no, everything below my baseline is failure. And then you get to celebrate some other things along the way. You get to see the difference. So step 2 is create your best case scenario. This is the place where when you're driving, every single traffic light is green, right? When you think about you have all the energy, all the time, all the money, all the support. It is all green lights, your best case scenario. What does that look like? What this does is shows you your idea of perfect. This is valuable because you want to be able to see what you think is your pie in the sky, what you are holding your standards to. Because somewhere in the middle is step 3. Somewhere in the middle is actual life where you get some things done and you have some resistance to other things. There are obstacles in your way. So step 3 is to note your resistance. Notice where you have friction to what you have to get done. Notice where you're like, I should do this, but I don't want to. Or I don't know how to do this. Notice where you have that kind of edge to you that's making it hard to just get things done, right? It's no longer this all green light situation. It's like, or stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. We think that these stops are like the bridge is out, you got to go on a detour, your project is over. But actually, a red light is just a stop. You got time to look around for a second, get your bearings, make sure you're safe. And then when it's your turn, you just start on your path again. It's just a break. It's an intermission. It's not game over. This is a disaster. It's just a red light. It's just a pause. You just keep going, right? So when you notice where your obstacles are, that's where you're going to grow. That's where you're going to learn new skills. That's where you're going to get to the next level that you need to be so that you can find your next green light, right? You can find that ease that you're looking for in your perfect scenario. So the last part of that is go back to your baseline and put some space in there every single day for you to have some intentional personal time. You can call it fun. You can call it relaxation. You can call it whatever you want. It's turning your work brain off and getting into your body, getting into your spirit, getting into your emotions, whatever that looks like for you, right? Spend maybe it's 2 minutes a day. If you're used to doing none because you're working so hard all the time, start with 2 minutes. If you are focused and you want more, start with 2 hours. I don't care. It does not matter. You choose, but make that part of your baseline. So you're going to figure out what your baseline is. You're going to figure out what your best case scenario is. You're going to identify your obstacles, which are in fact your items of growth. And then you're going to put some intentional fun in your baseline. So now we're going from this place where I got to earn my fun, I got to earn my happiness, but I don't think it's possible to no, 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 no. Happiness is important. It's actually recharging my batteries. It actually makes the work possible. And I'm going to be intentional to make that a part of every day of my life so that I can look back and it's not this hamster wheel that I've been flying on. And all of a sudden, I don't know where 10 years of my life have gone. Now it's I'm intentionally in my life. I'm choosing my life. I am enjoying my life, not because I have to earn it, because it's actually not part of the task list, but because I want it. All right. I hope that you can make that choice. It's actually not easy, and I know that you can also do it. So I look forward to seeing you next week.